All right, welcome to the webinar. Great to have you here. Welcome, Christiane and Nico Herzetti. Welcome, Nico and Christiane. Where are you from, Christiane?
I
Where are you from, Christiane?
am from Medford, Oregon.
Bedford, Oregon. Okay, great. All right. Do you own a business?
I'm a business relationship manager, so I work in commercial lending and lending products and deposits and everything business related. So,
Okay, awesome. Great. Anything in particular you'd like to learn from today's session for yourself?
I've been in the back end of things for so long. I was a credit analyst. I
Uh,
did accounting. I did mortgage, all on the back end, but feel like my personality fits being the front side of things. So I'm kind of newly in a more sales oriented role. So kind of learning how to transition, having people skills into building relationships and eventually, helping businesses thrive with our products and helping them grow and succeed. Meshing those two together sometimes is like new for me. So
what are the two again? Sorry, I found it a little hard to follow. So, what are the two things that you're trying to mesh together? Just so I'm clear. Yeah.
yeah. So I feel like I can talk to people and build relationships. But
Uh,
then I'm also, my business is helping other businesses grow and succeed. So,
yeah,
being able to talk to somebody, but also transition into a sales conversation and kind
I
of
see.
meshing those two together.
Okay, so like transitioning from being friendly like into business like,
Yeah.
and it feels kind of weird sometimes to do that.
Yeah. How can
Like
I
you're,
help you? How can I help your business succeed? And,
yeah,
you know,
right. Okay, I think I got the gist of it. More than the gist of it, it's a pretty common issue for a lot of people, and it drives a lot of people crazy. Mitch, it's great to have you here, uh, and thank you for being here. Nico, what kind of business are you running, and what would you like to learn from today? Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm the founder of a very early stage tech startup,
Okay.
and relevant to today's conversation. I'm working on a pilot program that I want to run with a couple like other businesses. So my solution is like a B2B solution, and I want to start thinking about how I'm going to transition, kind of like Christiane said, transition from a very friendly, like warm relationship that I have with folks to proposing like a more formalized partnership to run a pilot program. So that's what I'm trying to like gear up for.
Well, that'll make it a lot easier for me. You guys have the same situation almost.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm sure there are other things going on, it always is. And so it's a pleasure to have you all here. And we're in the presence of our great Mitch Axelrod, who's also a great sales trainer. So I just want to acknowledge his presence and thank you for being here, Mitch.
I love listening to you and hearing your genius and your wisdom always.
Oh, thank you very much. All right. All right. And all right, let's get going here. I'm going to do a very short presentation like I promised. And then we'll jump into, not dump, but jump into a very interactive part of our day here. I hope you all stay for at least the entire duration because the interactivity is what's going to really provide that breakthrough for you. Uh, and if you're coachable, I do promise a breakthrough actually today. How about that? If you're coachable. And so let's get into it. And uh, other people are joining us here as well. Welcome. If you just joined us, please mute yourselves. I'm going to start the presentation and then we'll get into a Q&A in a few minutes here. Thank you for being here. All right. Welcome, everybody. Again, the presentation today and the interactive interaction is going to be based on this topic, which is sales anxiety to authentic connection, the hidden pattern keeping you stuck. This is a business educational presentation. So I'm just going to ask that you really focus on, on the education, no networking, no cross discussion, please. And if you post anything in the chat, please no promotions, okay? And we will not tolerate that at all. So please do not do that. And let's see, we'll do a presentation for about 15, 20 minutes or so, and then we'll get into the Q&A. which is going to be where real transformation occurs. A transformation, I mean, like really an opportunity to have some insight that leads to breakthroughs. I'm not going to talk about insights or inspirations that lead not to breakthrough. I'm interested in insight and providing insight to you and insightful education information that leads to something meaningful that can produce some extraordinary results. How you get the extraordinary results is dependent more on how you engage in the Q&A and how you listen, if you're coachable, obviously, but also how you listen to it and how you engage. Now, I know a couple of you are not going to engage because you're silent observers. You had communicated with me before, and that's okay. I welcome you here. But I encourage the rest of you to participate in a good way, okay? And engage. But first, we're going to do a presentation. And let's see, let's jump into a little bit about me. I've mentored probably more like tens of thousands of entrepreneurs, government leaders, organizational leaders since 1991 to success. I'm a founder of a 200,000 plus member global entrepreneur community. Some of you came from Meetup, which is just part of that community. Some of you came through Alignable, some of you came through LinkedIn. I welcome all of you. Great to have you here. I'm the founder and CEO of the Global Small Business School, where we have a mission of providing affordable business education for people to have success. I'm author of 2 books published on Amazon, 2 more on the way. And I'm a speaker, corporate trainer. I've made a difference in the worlds of climate change and in poverty. Done a lot of work in those areas. I'm a constantly in-demand speaker. Those of you who are interested in speaking, learning how to speak, you can also ask me questions about that in the Q&A. Just a few testimonials just to give you a sense of what kind of results I can provide. Some of you may have issues about raising or pricings, and I've helped Christy Williford, who you see the photograph here, increase her prices and to do so without much guilt and to be really clear about her value in the marketplace. Some of you may be struggling with that, some of you may not be. If you are, I'd be interested in having a conversation. A lot of you came from meetup.com. This is the former CEO of meetup.com, David Siegel. He's brought me in to do some trainings for the various entrepreneurs on the Meetup platform, of which there are about 60 million people. That just gives you a sense of who I am. You can get more of a sense of me from my website, which is put here on the slide, sunilbhaskaran.com. Let's jump right into the content of what we are talking about here today, okay? So the problem you are or you may be facing is that you're struggling with sales despite knowing what to do. See, like I assert, like knowing what to do doesn't necessarily give you effectiveness. And it's maybe knowing what you don't know that you don't know about sales that gives you more of an insight into how you can be more effective. Like knowing stuff really hasn't really helped thus far, maybe, but knowing things that you're blind to, like there are blind spots, is what's commonly termed to. It's what we're going to try to start uncovering here in this presentation and this interaction. You may be procrastinating on follow-ups, avoiding outreach, feeling exhausted by sales. If you are, you're in the right place. Well, your right place to discover how you could break through that. You charge less than your worth to avoid uncomfortable conversations, just to make things easy. You charge less, and you may not feel very satisfied with that. The harder you try with techniques, the worse your anxiety becomes. And I can help you disassemble that, today. So let's keep going here. So why this keeps happening? Why does these patterns keep going on, right? One is I invite you to consider you're caught in a self-defeating cycle that you can't see. And I'm going to actually uncover this or unconceal this for yourself today. You may be trying to appear helpful, for example, to your prospective clients while avoiding being seen as pushy. And, you're going to discover that the avoiding of being being pushy, for example, actually colors your entire conversation. And that's really it's part of the source of what has you be stuck. And it's all a very, very honest, very honorable intention sometimes that you think you have in your sales or your interactions with people. But the avoiding part is what kind of colors the whole thing. And I'll explain this to come. This well-intentioned approach creates the very resistance that you're avoiding. So it's kind of like, human beings are kind of funny, I say. There's a lot of irony that runs in our blood veins, you could say, and that the very thing we're trying to achieve or avoid is the problem itself. And I'm going to start unconcealing that for you. Okay. In other words, your good intentions are creating bad results for you. It doesn't mean you have to get rid of your good intentions. It just means you have to be a little bit more aware of what's going on. Okay. So I'm going to assert that sales is a function of being present, like being present, being alert, being aware, especially when you're having a conversation with people. Some of you may already not being present right now because you, you may be confronted by something I say because it reminds you of something from the past. But there's so many distractions that can take you off course already. There's already so much present in the social media, in the media itself, politics. So, if what you're already battling is getting your client's attention. If you're not present yourself, that could lead to, a doubling of the problem. Like if two people in the conversation are not present, then you're definitely in trouble. So it really behooves you to be present in the sales conversation, to be alert, and to be alert as possible, and not triggered or hooked by certain things that may be occurring for you that you're not even aware of. So when you're distracted or not present or alert to your prospective client, how can you sell? So I invite you to really start considering this question. How can you sell? You may want to look and reflect on some previous conversations in the recent past that you had either with prospective clients or people in your life where maybe you were distracted or not present or alert, and notice how that affected the effectiveness of your conversation with that person. So we're going to start diving into this world of what's hidden, what your blind spot may be, and the hidden pattern or structure may be here. And this is something I call the XY technology, something I developed myself. And you could say that X, the whole how you state it is that you're avoiding X, something that you're avoiding to fulfill an honorable intention Y. So for example, you may be avoiding being pushy in order to occur as being helpful or as a good person in your sales. So you don't push. You avoid talking about the price. You avoid talking about what you really need from this client in order to really help them. And the backfire is in avoiding X, for example, being pushy, in avoiding being pushy or avoiding whatever X is, and X could be a lot of stuff, while pursuing your honorable intention Y creates more of X, being pushy, X, for example, and kind of blocks your good intention. So it is kind of like ironic, like the more you avoid something, the more it persists. You might have heard the term, the more you resist something, the more it persists. The French have a saying too. It goes exactly like that. The more things change, the more they remain the same, right? There's a law in physics called every action has an equal and opposite reaction. And that can be applied metaphorically to your life and to sales itself. The more you avoid something, the more that something will persist as kind of like a context, as a background for how you operate in the conversation. You might observe certain people who are avoiding dealing with something, almost like they're feeling experience of like they're walking on eggshells around you. And that whole experience of walking on eggshells colors the whole conversation. And it affects the entire conversation and the effectiveness of that conversation. You can imagine being with somebody, you're clear, who's avoiding something in the conversation. And you can imagine how that impacts the honesty, you could say, or the effectiveness of that conversation, right? So I'm sure some of you are beginning to see this. Some of you may be grappling with it. Some of you may be saying, I don't have that. And that's fine. I have no trouble with that. My invitation is to look deeper. The result of this XY is you have an exhausting cycle with poor results and growing self-doubt. Okay. So an example of this is you could be avoiding X, which could be failure. So you avoid failure with an honorable intention to be safe and successful. So to be safe and successful, you avoid failure. The backfire is that avoiding X, avoiding failure while pursuing Y, which is be safe and successful, creates more of the context of failure. Some people are so afraid of failure that they actually fail, right? It's almost crazy, but if you look at it, it starts to make sense. And it blocks your honorable intention to be safe and successful. So the result, again, is an exhausting cycle with poor results and growing self-doubt. I'm just inviting you to really open your mind and start looking at what that X and Y could be for you. Another example here, avoid being intrusive or pushy. I kind of talked about it earlier, in order to look good or reputable. So avoid being pushy or intrusive in order to look good or reputable. The backfire is while you're avoiding being pushy, sometimes you don't really look that good. You know, people who avoid being pushy tend to be kind of like hesitant in how they say they're not bold and where they need to be bold. And, how can you sell if you're not being bold about what you're providing as a solution for people? So the result again is an exhausting cycle with poor results and growing self-doubt. Another example, you avoid being rigid or appearing strict. This happens for a lot of leaders, sales managers, or people who are leaders trying to hold other people to account, or even holding your client to account. For example, they need to pay you on time and they haven't paid you on time, and so you got to hold them to account. But you avoid being occurring as rigid or strict to them with an honorable intention of looking cool, flexible, and nice. Seemingly honorable, you could say, but while you're avoiding being rigid or appearing strict while pursuing the seemingly honorable intention of looking cool, flexible, and nice, you create more of appearing rigid and appearing strict. And it kind of blocks the whole honorable intention of looking cool or flexible or nice. Again, the result is exhaustion, poor results. Your self-expression is going down, your confidence is going down. And hope you're beginning to see how this could be playing in your life. And in the Q&A that's coming up here pretty soon, you'll have an opportunity to work with me and really see what that pattern could be, okay? How this pattern destroys everything. Sales productivity, you have almost endless procrastination. There's certain things in particular you will avoid, right? Avoid doing or not wanting to do, follow-ups, calls that you know you need to make, you don't make. You even get business sometimes. I've even actually seen, I used to run networking events and promise some people they'll get a really good referral. They call me. I even had the person in mind, and people don't call. So there's an avoidance mechanism that's going on, avoiding calls and follow-ups. Your energy exhausted from the internal battle, not productive work. I'm just getting tired of reading this. Your energy goes down, your confidence goes down. Each avoidance reinforces I'm not good at sales. So you can see if you keep avoiding X in the background, unbeknownst to you even, it's kind of like a blind spot. And you can go for all the greatest trainings in the world, but if you don't handle this thing, you can have the greatest sales trainer in the world training you one-on-one and it won't make a difference. So each avoidance reinforces I'm not good at sales. Your income, of course, undercharging, rushed work, missed opportunities, stress. And then you get desperate and you try to do quick answers to your sales questions, sales concerns. And you can just imagine how that creates even more of a problem. Okay. So the blind spot called your XY prevents you from being alert and present to your prospective client. Hope you guys are seeing this. It's unbeknownst to you. It's kind of like a blind spot. You don't know that you don't know that you have it. Kind of like a blind spot in your car. When you first get into your car, you don't know you have a blind spot until you almost get knocked over because you didn't see someone coming in. So this is kind of like your blind spot. When you identify a blind spot, you have an opportunity to have a breakthrough. For some of you, it may be kind of like what I call short-term suffering for long-term joy. You kind of got to confront this. Gloria Steinem said it well. She was a famous feminist from the 70s. She said, the truth will set you free, but first it'll kind of piss you off. It's always good to go through the quick piss off, ladies and gentlemen, to get to freedom. So my invitation is to start really looking at this, really like some of you may throw up a kind of like a confusion thing where I can't really find my blind spot. And that's all okay. It's very normal because your identity, your ego, your psyche almost doesn't want you to find this out. Because by golly, you could actually have insight to maybe taking a risk if you found this out and step out of what I call your comfortable suffering, taking a risk and actually being bold. And your ego identity may not necessarily want. Sometimes suffering may be a more comfortable spot to be in. Okay, so your blind spot keeps you in the spot, kind of keeps you stuck. And you all have an opportunity to move out of that today if you wish to. And in the coming up Q&A. So I invite you to start lining up your questions. Start identifying how you can identify this XY. So start looking at the symptoms. What happens when you are stuck in your sales? Some of you mentioned in the preamble, some of you came early to this call and shared with me that you had trouble moving from a very relaxed conversation, friendly conversation, into a sales call. So that's really a mark of an XY hidden. There's something there that you want to uncollapse, unconceal, and free yourself up from. Okay. So if you identify the symptoms, like what's going on, what happens when you get stuck, why do you get stuck? What are the things that happen? What happens when you say, well, how do you feel about it? All that kind of helps me uncover and unconceal with your help what your XY could be. So traditional sales training tends to fail. I'm not saying don't do traditional sales training or any kind of sales training, but I'm saying it tends to fail not because the training is bad, but because they teach techniques while you're still operating from aversion. In other words, avoiding stuff. It addresses the symptoms, but not the root causes of resistance. Some sales trainings do address the symptoms, but not really well. So you tend to add more tools to your unused collection. So a lot of you, I'm sure, have books that you bought and they have not been read. Hey, listen, I've been there too myself. Totally understand. Some of you have bought programs and you've not really listened or viewed them at all. And it's quite understandable again. Okay. So but you tend to just, in your desperation to solve this, you tend to get the quick answers. So add more tools to your unused collection, your unused tool chest, you could say. That's to increase anxiety, more things you should do, but can't. So the more you kind of learn stuff that's not really about uncollapsing or unconcealing this XY, because it doesn't get to the root source of the issue, now you just have more things to do because of the sales training, but really doesn't get to your being or the core root of the issue, you could say, okay? So what dissolving the root cause does, you tend to multiply productivity. I've seen people really break through this. It's like all of you have a powerhouse inside of you, but you're wasting a lot of that powerhouse energy on mostly internal resistance. You're spending more of your time avoiding stuff or trying to repress or suppress something that you feel is getting you stuck, or it's just avoiding things that you should be doing. You start getting authentically engaged with people, connect genuinely without performance. Some of you may be noticing the level of passion in which I speak. This doesn't come from, from any kind of linear experience. This kind of passion that I'm speaking with comes because I connect genuinely without trying to perform or trying to put on an act. You will discover your true self-expression, your true connection, why you do your business and why you love people who come to your business. That also starts attracting the right kind of people you want to work with and stops this act of desperation of working with just anybody who can or possibly could pay you. So you start having more authentic engagement with people, pricing confidence. You charge what you're worth without anxiety. You'll discover that pricing is just about as made up as the things that you're avoiding doing. And if things are made up, you can make up something else. Like you can make up a damn good reason to be confident about your pricing. I'll repeat it again for the hard of hearing. You can make up a really good reason for why you can be confident about your pricing. Transform your exhaustion. The avoidance cycle starts becoming a creative flow for you. This is very simple explained because you stop wasting energy on things that probably have been preoccupying you because you haven't quite really seen what the root cause is. So the four transformations available: sales aversion, moving into authentic partnership, energizing connection building. And you got to do the work though. It starts with identifying the XY. But yeah, you can have this kind of transformation for sure. And number two, self-doubt, moving into unshakable confidence, eliminating the value anxiety that you might have about your business or what you provide completely. Transforming procrastination to effortless action, natural follow-up without forcing. Now, you're not completely going to give up or let go of your procrastination and self-doubt. It's always going to be there, but it's going to be kind of like a baby with an arm. When you first notice your arm, you're preoccupied with your arm. So you may be preoccupied right now with your sales aversion or your self-doubt or your procrastination. But the arm's always going to be there. But in this work, what I found is the arm on the hand goes into the background, so you don't have a lot of attention on it. And the less attention you have on sales aversion, self-doubt, procrastination, and energy drain, the more you're going to have attention on the creative flow, on your effortless action, the unshakable confidence, and authentic partnership. A lot of you haven't built those muscles, but you've built a lot of the muscles on sales aversion, self-doubt, etc. So this is the opportunity today to really transform that for yourself. Okay. How did this transformation occur? It usually occurs in like 6 stages. The first is awareness, and some of you are beginning to get aware of this. The next stage is to normalize your awareness so you're not too shocked about it, because the awareness can be kind of traumatic in itself. Like you're being aware of how much time you wasted in your sales, in your business in the past, maybe you lost relationships out of it, but you start normalizing your awareness. Once you normalize it, you have an opportunity to create a new future statement. I just did a workshop 2 weeks ago, and 7 people in the workshop created a new future for themselves inside of sales. It became their mantra every day. They read it out to themselves, and they started applying that future statement to every sales conversation they had. And once you do that, you start building the muscle of a new future instead of more of the past. Once you do that, you can actually start thinking of what you really want to create in your life. Most people don't know what they want to create in your life, including a lot of your prospective clients. Once you understand this, you can start designing to exactly what you want to fulfill in your life. Most of you don't have a good design for your business because of the XY and all these other things that's running around. You don't have clear thinking yet for that. Once you uncollapse all that, your mind is a beautiful thing. It starts coming up with better designs to fulfill in your new future. Based on a good design, now you can start selecting or building systems or structures, kind of platforms you want to use, what kind of email systems, etc., that are more congruent to this design and this new way of being. And if you really do the work on the XY, you start being more freed up in your accountability to get things done. Because without accountability, none of this will work. So these are the 6 stages that I help people move through to start creating breakthroughs. I've been doing it for 30, 40 years now. What makes this kind of thing different, this kind of process different? It addresses your foundational relationship to sales itself. At the foundational level, where you're avoiding stuff, usually also uncovers why you love doing this. A lot of you are not present to why you're doing this on a consistent basis, this meaning your business. You're not present to the love you have for people or the love that you have or the natural love that you have for your business and why you like to provide that. Precision analysis, specific patterns creating your resistance. You got to get precise about it, and it requires a certain kind of language that you use, a certain level of rigor that you got to bring to analyzing what this resistance is. This is not motivation. It's not mindset work. It's not just more techniques for you to remember. It's actually quite simple to do this once you get the hang of it, because I believe it works according to who you are being. Uh, so there's nothing much to really remember about it. It's really quite simple. The hard part is you being willing to do the work. That's usually the hardest part. If you get past that, it's really quite straightforward. Dissolve the pattern that makes you need sales scripts. A lot of you think you need sales scripts, and to a certain extent, some of you may, but you'll find that you'll come up with better sales scripts because they're more human to human. They're not about you trying to convince yourself or other people that you're good. It's more about finding out what people need, leading them to that future, and understanding where they're at, taking them to the future through your program or to your product. This is a case study, a real case study. Charlotte Jacobs, some of you may know Charlotte Jacobs. She's trains a lot of coaches, healers, consultants in how to make more money. When I first met her, she was barely putting groceries on credit cards. Now she makes $1 million in revenue, literally. I helped her when she first came to me. She was working, she just graduated from acupuncturist school. I helped her, I promised her that I would triple her income in 90 days. Didn't take too much to figure this out. I could do this as long as she was coachable. And I worked a lot of it on her sales conversions. A lot of it very common to some of the things you shared, some of you shared in the early part of this call. Now she's an award-winning mentor, impacting tens of thousands of people around the world. And this is very key here, supported her to go beyond what she thought was possible. Some of you may have given up on your sales in private, maybe not really discussed it much. I want to give you an opportunity to move through that resignation and create more possibility for yourself. Just a little bit about the programs I have available. I have two programs. It's a group program at $200 a month, and I have a premium individual program at $1,200 a month. Both dissolve the sales aversion using this breakthrough methodology I just discussed. There's a 3-month minimum commitment for pattern transformation and to have at least some thriving results. So I just wanted to expose you to what the programs are. Some of you may have questions about that. But what I really want to offer today is a Joyful Magic Discovery session. It's a totally free session. You'll have to apply for the session, and there's some questions I ask, which are very reasonable questions to ask. But what you'll gain from this session is have your remaining concerns resolved. Some of you have expressed to me that you don't share usually on these calls and you want to have a private call with me. That's fine. You can set it up. I'm going to give you the link here very soon to do that. So have your remaining questions resolved and concerns resolved. I'm going to listen keenly to what you need and then show you a pathway to more sales and then breakthrough sales if you're interested. I don't discuss any programs unless you are interested and if it's a fit. So I only talk about programs that I offer if it's a fit. To get this free discovery session, I'm going to put the link in here. So there's a link in the chat box, and you can click on that link and schedule a time with me. Okay. All right. Okay. So I promised a Q&A session here. And these are for your specific patterns and questions pertaining to what we discussed today. Okay. Well, what I shared today. Not what we discussed, but what you shared today. You want to bring your real sales challenges for live analysis. So bring me real stuff. Don't talk about abstractions. Don't talk about other people. Talk about yourself, okay? And bring your real sales challenges, and I'll help you uncover your X and Y patterns and leave you with a clear pathway to transformation. Okay, so that's my promise. All right, so I'm going to stop sharing my screen here and invite people to share questions. Okay, so who'd like to share? Who'd like to have a question? Christiane, question. Can't hear you.
I was trying to unmute myself. I'm like,
There you are. Yeah.
I'm used to using Teams, not Zoom. So I'm like, where's the unmute?
Yeah.
I think I've just been lately attending like more networking events. So my approach has been more group oriented versus like scheduling one-on-ones. Um, so I'm a lone officer. So my main objective is to, meet people, maintain their relationships. So, like yesterday, for example, I walk into a big room of people who are all there to network, but then they're all grouped by the businesses they came with. So they all came with three people they know, and they just stick to their groups of the people they know. And I'm coming in by myself. I don't have problems talking to people, but when it's like everybody's just grouped, I just sat at a table and I started talking to two of the girls, and they were in their conversation about their own company stuff. And I'm like, hi, how's it going? And try to just abruptly interrupt kind of nicely.
Oh,
And then they just went back to their conversations. And it was like, I kept having to try to, like, okay, sitting here awkwardly. I want to make more conversation, but they're just, so recluse. So it's like sometimes communication styles doesn't let you feel like you can go more in depth. And
hmm.
then finally, like 30 minutes into it, they kind of turned around and I was like, so what do you guys do? Trying to get them to talk about themselves and the things I've learned. So
Uh,
I think over time they started to open up, but then they didn't reciprocate. So then it feels awkward to be like, well, this is what I do. And if, you have any future business needs, it's like, it just feels awkward. So I feel like that
yeah.
transition is just weird sometimes depending on your audience.
Uh, well, your language is kind of betraying a little bit what's happening. You said it, and I couldn't capture it, but you said something. It's hard to avoid something. You said it like, or hard. Can you recall what you said? It caught my attention, and then I had to listen to the rest of what you were saying. Um, but do you recall, like, it's kind of like you're avoiding. It's kind of like you're avoiding asking them meaningful questions.
Right. But it's almost like they weren't receptive or they're just comfortable talking in their own group.
And who made that up? Who decided that?
Yeah, it was like, I mean, I guess myself, but it's like, how do you
Do you
insert
guess
yourself
yourself, or I mean,
nicely?
was there anybody else? Like, I know it sounds a little crazy to say that a little bit, but obviously it's you that made it up, right? And you see, therein lies the solution to your problem. It's a conundrum, you see. Now, I'm not advocating that you come in and be like Tony Robbins jumping around the stage and trying to get their attention. I'm not advocating that. And I know Tony's a great guy. But, what I would say is there's something in that you want to open up. Again, I'm not talking about being crazy about it, right? Because what most people do when I describe this, they go to the extreme of jumping in and being intrusive. Like, okay, it's like either I avoid these people, they don't seem to be very interested, or I go to the extremes. What happens in an XY? Those are the only two possibilities. Can you follow what I'm saying here?
Hmm.
It's like you have a box now. The box, see, at some point in your life, because I know no babies who are born like this. If you find one, let me know. But, at some point, something happened, an event happened, and you decided that some people are just not interested in meaningful conversation, or you shifting the conversation in a way. I'm not saying you have to do that, by the way, because that's also equally crazy. But you notice that possibility goes out the door. That's where I want to point to. You see, it's like choice has disappeared.
Hmm.
The only thing I can do is stay quiet in the conversation and wait for my turn, or be intrusive. You follow what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's like a box. It's a box that we constructed ourselves. And it usually happens because we have the XY. Something happened at some point in your age. Usually it's kind of a young age. It's like, 8 to 14. Something happened. I remember mine. I lived in Singapore. I went to this rich boy's house. Never saw a big house like this. And I decided that I was going to avoid wealthy people because I thought they were nasty people who weren't interested in me. Can you imagine how that impacted my sales? Right?
Mm.
And I was what, 5, 6 years old at that point, made the decision. And that was the limit of my box was I either avoid wealthy people or I become intrusive with them. Guess how well that worked, right? So we kind of construct this kind of box, you see. So with those people, you are kind of stuck in that box in the sense that the only thing you could do is wait for your opportunity to talk or to be intrusive. You even said that. You can be intrusive, you can be friendly. So, see, for now, you want to just sit with that because the tendency for most people is to go to extremes in this kind of game when they first notice this, they want to go to extremes, right? I was coaching a very well-known sales coach last week, and we found out that his two extremes were he avoided being creative because his father was a famous screenwriter who used to smoke pot all the time. So he equated being creative as a stoner, right? On the other extreme of it, he became a cannonball, driving people. He drove his team like crazy, like so you can kind of get a sense that the only way you can kind of resolve this at the level of 6 year old or 14-year old is to go to extremes. And we kind of haven't really evolved out of that. But the good news is we can because you're much older now. You're much more mature. There are other possibilities that you can thrive with. See? So my job is not to give you like an immediate solution because that usually screws things up. You know, if you find a quick solution, that's usually a bad news. Follow what I'm saying? You may have seen people like this, right? They think, oh, I'm stuck in this. Oh, I guess I'll just have to work harder. So what happens is they get burnt out now. The trick is to sit back and really look at this. So what you want to look at is, first of all, can you kind of see the XY? Does that make sense for you? Yeah.
Mhm.
Does it make you a little sad or
Well, I think it's like trying to retrain your brain. Like, okay, these people are giving social cues as they're not interested. They're not making eye contact at that point. They're not engaging in the conversation. They're not continuing to ask conversations. Your
right?
instinct is to say, okay, these social
Yeah.
cues are telling me that they're just more comfortable talking in their
And
by
that could be right.
themselves.
That could be right. And that could be wrong.
Right.
It could be wrong.
So how do you interject
That's your trap.
again?
See?
Because I
Yeah.
already interjected the first
Yeah,
time.
I know. I'm trying to train you to think a little differently
Yeah.
because your immediate thing is, I gotta find a solution to this. How do I interject? But you see, that thinking is what got you stuck in the first place.
Yeah.
You can't resolve this at the level of thinking in which you created the problem. Einstein and a lot of other physicists figured this out a while ago. Einstein figured out the theory of relativity. He couldn't figure it out at the level at which the problem was created. It was a problem they were trying to solve when they came up with the theory of relativity. And this problem was, why is the speed of light the same on a moving train than on a stationary ground? Didn't make any sense. They had to step outside the box to kind of find a solution. The solution was that time was relative. Once he figured that out, E equals mc squared became really clear. Now, I'm not saying that your problem is at the level of that. It could be a little bit easier. Okay. Your solution will lie in finding a new context for yourself. But we got a bit of work to do before we get there. Okay. Are you willing to do that work? You're thinking, I got no choice. No, you do
I'm
have choice.
here.
You're on the spot, and I thank you for taking the courage to do this
Yeah.
because you're giving courage to other people. You think you're the only one with this issue? See all the love coming up?
Yeah.
Uh, yeah. So, you know, the you want to start looking at the cost, the payoff of this XY for yourself. I know it may not be completely congealed in your mind, but I got a time constraint here. So if you don't mind, I'm trying to like rush through this a little bit. But okay, there are costs and payoffs for holding this XY together, right? In avoiding uh you're avoiding being intimate with them and at the same or the other extreme trying to push it, right? Trying to find an answer. So there's a cost to this. And you mentioned some of the costs already. By the way, I'm not saying like, they're not, why would people come to a networking event and hang out with themselves? It's kind of crazy, right? They have their own stuff going on, okay? If they come to coaching me, we'll deal with them, but I'm dealing with you right now, right? Yeah. So, if you look at so you look at it, right? You're possibly avoiding what? What do you think you're avoiding? And what's your honorable intention?
I mean, I think you're always scared to like be rude or come off like, okay, they're having this private conversation that they want to continue. Then you just feel like kind of out of place. Like, how
Yeah.
do I pick this conversation up again naturally first?
Yeah. So you're avoiding being rude or intrusive or being considered pushy or, you know, discourteous,
Mm-hmm.
disrespectful. The list can go on, right?
Mm-hmm.
With an honorable intention to be what?
For the what?
You're avoiding that with an honorable or seemingly honorable intention of fulfilling what? So you're avoiding being disrespectful, etc. What's your honorable intention?
I mean, honestly, to eventually help them if they have a
Yeah,
need or, or helping each other. I mean, if they have a business that they're trying to get out there and we're both business people
yeah,
seeking the same objective, it's
right.
like we could help each other, but we can't even
Yeah.
get there because that conversation just
So
died.
so stay with me here, okay? Stay with me here, okay? So you're avoiding being rude, disrespectful, etc. Note this. Note how crazy it is. Really, with an honorable intention, or seemingly honorable, could be really true, of really helping them. Just sit with that for a while and notice the irony of it,
Yeah.
right? Now, this gets really crazy if you start looking at it, because some of you just don't get how crazy we are. We're bat crazy, and we don't know it. And I'm trying to uncover this and unconceal it so you can see how the craziness works and kind of has your foot nailed to the floor.
Mhm.
And there's nothing wrong with you, nothing wrong with them. You're just being human. And this is what we do. You're avoiding being rude, disrespectful, the honorable intention to help them. And yet the avoidance of being rude and disrespectful colors, in fact, inhibits your ability to help them. Just stay with that for a while, right?
Mhm.
So notice what the costs and the payoffs could be, because there have to be some costs to it, because you're kind of unhappy about it. But there has to be some payoffs too, otherwise you won't keep doing it, you see?
Yeah.
Yeah. So what are the costs? What does it cost you when you're stuck in that XY?
Feeling awkward.
Well, I think it's not so much feeling awkward, but it's like the cost is you don't have an opportunity to create real intimacy or real connection with people,
Yeah.
right? It also costs you money and money opportunities. Yeah. What else does it cost you? It costs you wasting your time.
Yeah.
Yeah. What else does it cost you? Want you to look. Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah. Usually the person who's in your seat right now is the last person to see it. Okay. So you're doing great. Some people may already be noticing it. Some people actually DMing me and tell me what it is, but I'm going to ignore them because it doesn't matter what they think. It matters what you think. They're already getting this, by the way. Yeah, they can see it. You can't see it just yet because you're on the spot, kind of. Yeah, and that's okay. But you know what? You see, if you really look at the cost, it could be costing you exhaustion. It's kind of exhausting to keep doing this, you see. Going to networking events, expecting something different, but getting the same. I think they call that insanity. So, what else does it cost you? Money, time, energy, health, well-being, sales, possibly
Mhm.
leadership, possible self-expression, the fulfillment of your vision, your joy, helping people, actually helping people, right? I mean, you got a certain level of results probably where you're at, but you could be at a higher level if you wish to. To get to that breakthrough level, you kind of have to break through this. Yeah. What do you think the payoffs are that will keep this in place? That's where it gets a little bit more interesting. Because it have to be payoffs, otherwise you won't keep doing it, you see.
I mean, I think you can be small. It could just be a connection, a business card exchange. It could be a, potential down the road to future business. It could be, COIs where they refer your name to other people that they
Well,
might.
that I'm not talking about that payoff. I'm talking about the payoff of keeping the XY in place.
Oh,
See, yeah, those are like potential rewards if you break through it, but you
right.
haven't broken through it. So there are reasons why you keep this in place, kind of. Your psyche has kind of kept this mechanism in place because it's getting some payoffs from it. You kind of
Hmm.
already mentioned it in your list. See, and just for the sake of brevity, I'll just say it, because you said it kind of like it kind of keeps you playing small and comfortable.
Hmm.
See? Now, I'm not saying you have to like break out of the comfort zone and be like, it's like equally kind of crazy. You see? That's just going to put you back in the same box because it's also comfortable to come up with a stupid solution like that. And it is a stupid solution. I'm advocating for a more intelligent solution here. Okay.
Hmm.
So, but you just got to notice the payoff. The payoff is it keeps you comfortable and in that box because it's comfortable, frankly, to be in a small game than to play a bigger game. Now, you might be asking what the bigger game is, but we'll get to that. There is a bigger game with your name written on it, but membership in that club requires you to give up something. You have to give up this XY authentically. You got to really dig deep into it, you know?
Hmm.
And so you're beginning to you're beginning to get deeper into it and you can see some of the payoffs, right? It's the comfort zone. Can you see the comfort zone? Can you see
Yeah.
how comfortable it is? Yeah. You know, and what other payoffs are there? That could be the big one, but what other payoffs are there? Keeps you playing small, keeps it comfortable, non-risky.
Hmm.
Yeah. There are a couple other ones. It may take a while for you to sit with this before you start seeing it. But when people see it, they go, wow, and that is your life, you see. Not a bad thing. It's just what's so. And so you got these costs and these payoffs. What you want to do is kind of start sitting with the costs and payoffs for now, because the tendency is to want to find a solution. I can give you a solution, but it'll probably be the hardest, the stupidest thing for me to do with you. Because if you really learn this, you can train other people in this technology. But if I gave you the answer, you won't be able to teach it. And rather you learn it well. So what you want to do is sit with the costs and the payoffs. Yeah, some people are giving me answers here, but it's going to be up to you to see. Someone said, not being your authentic self. But that's really a cost, you see. It's costing you being authentic. So what does it mean to be authentic? See, it's a good inquiry to look at. What does it mean to be really you? Um, to get to really being you, sometimes you got to uncover where you're lying about lying. You know, it's one thing to tell the truth about when you're telling the truth. It's another thing, access to authenticity is to tell the truth about where you're lying. usually not a bad thing once you get to the other side of it. Uh, where you're lying about commitments. About a couple of years back, I took on a commitment being really honest in everything I do. Boy, it was the hardest thing to do. I couldn't even say a word without it sounding like some kind of fib. But I worked through it and I kept saying, wow, there's so many areas where I'm not really being quite honest about, including when I went to networking events and just showed up half-heartedly. I wasn't giving it 100%. So, you start uncovering all that. But sometimes the payoff is that we rather be kind of comfortable in our inauthenticity than really look at being authentic, because being authentic might piss some people off, but it might get you a sale.
Mm-hmm.
There are a lot of prospective clients I've worked through. I've gone 75K and up, but don't write me a check right away because you know why? I had to deal with some hard questions that they were unwilling to confront, but I got them to confront it. And they looked at me finally and said, "You're the only person who had the balls and the guts to ask me these questions. And you gave me the space to answer because you were so darn insistent on it." Sometimes you may have to push through that. Can you feel me on this? Yeah?
Mm-hmm.
So you see, you don't have to give up like being the sweet person you are. You can be compassionate and be very straight with people. You could actually just say, "Hey, listen, guys, we're in a networking event. I'm curious to hear like why you came here for. What would you like to achieve here? How can I help you get your results? Are you guys looking for a promotion? What would get you a promotion in your company? How can I help you get there?" You know why these questions can flow off my tongue easily? Because I work through my XYs. I do it all the time. My nephews, I always disarm them. They're young, they think they're smarter than me. Oh man, they got another thing coming. You can be that wise. You follow me?
Mm-hmm.
But you got to work through that stuff. Right now, some of you are thinking, this is not that important for me. This is maybe the only thing that's important. So I'm going to let you think about that, okay, and sit with it for a while. Anybody else like to share what their XY is or what there could be? Bernadette, or who else? Who else like to share? You just cured your headache, Tanisha. How did I cure your headache? Tanisha, come on and share, please.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. Yeah. What was the
Okay,
source of your headache?
it was a joke. But I had a headache and actually it did go away just now. Um,
Yeah.
but I guess I didn't necessarily. I guess I was thinking about my X and my Y, and um,
You may need to speak a little closer to the mic, dear Tanisha, because it's a little muffled. Yeah.
okay, can you hear me a lot better?
Oh man. Yes.
Okay. I
The-
can't hear you that much better, but I
Oh,
can hear you a little bit. So, it's fine. I was just thinking about my X and my Y.
yeah.
I'm still kind of thinking about it. It takes me time to kind of process it a little bit more.
Yeah.
But my first thought is possibly like coming off as maybe I think I maybe have a little imposter syndrome sometimes.
Yeah. Imposter syndrome really, it's a prime candidate for XY. You're avoiding dealing with the possibility. I invite you to consider. It may not be the truth. None of what I'm sharing is the truth. It opens up possibility for you guys. Okay. Possibility way more valuable than the truth, by the way. Okay.
Hmm.
But it's possibly that you're avoiding the possibility that you may not be authentic or truthful in your service delivery or your messaging. I'm saying the
That's
possibility. I'm not saying the truth.
yeah.
You're avoiding dealing with it. So you avoid dealing with it. Maybe I'm not quite honest about my service, but I'm not going to look there. And that's like saying, don't think of a pink elephant. No matter what you do, don't think of a pink elephant. Now, Tanisha, whatever you do, don't think of a pink elephant. What do you just think of?
The elephant.
Some people say unicorn, whatever. It's the same context, mythological animal. Whatever
Mhm.
you resist persists as a context. So if you're resisting the possibility that you may be quite not quite honest or quite disingenuous about your service, etc., and you avoid dealing with it with an honorable intention of providing service and help for people, guess what? That avoidance colors the whole damn thing. You're
Okay.
stuck now. You're on foot nailed to the floor, circling around, crazy, trying to get somewhere, and you can't.
Yeah.
The context is critical. Context gives being. Being is the second name, last name, human being. People spend a lot of time in the human part. They don't look at the being part. The being part is everything I'm talking about here. It's the XY part of it's part of who you're being that you don't quite see, you see?
Yeah.
So if you say imposter syndrome, almost 9 out of 10 imposter syndrome people who say imposter syndrome, it's usually that's what's driving them.
Yeah.
The avoidance of dealing with it is what's coloring it. It's not the truth that you're an imposter. How the heck would you know you're an imposter? I haven't figured it out. Nobody has a mathematical formula for it. I guess you can
Yeah.
see it if you're lying all the time. But my suspicion is you're not lying all the time.
Yeah.
You just haven't really confronted it truthfully.
So how would I go about confronting it? Is it a
Well, the
matter of
first thing to
like,
do is to stop asking for an answer. The
and would
first
I
thing you
use those
do,
questions that you provided to do that?
you keep asking me for an answer. I'm giving you the kind of like the pathway. You gotta value the journey more than the answer. If you don't value the journey, you're gonna ignore the journey, try to get an answer, and that answer will be a total load of bukaka. It won't get you, it'll just get you stuck where you're at. Okay? So the journey is you first of all gotta get the payoff and the cost first. You gotta get this in your skin, girl. You gotta really get the pain of this. Then you'll start kicking it out. Believe me, you will. Right now, it's kind of like about 40, 50% that you're getting the impact of this XY. You got to get it a little bit more closer to 100. Then you'll start thinking of better solutions. I can give you the solutions, by the way. I can give it to you right now, but it won't help. You got to get really acquainted with the costs and payoffs of you avoiding dealing with this imposter thing. See, the cost is, what do you think the costs are? It's right there.
I mean, like maybe missed opportunities or
Maybe, maybe, or yeah.
definitely
Okay, thank you. Some honesty here. Yeah, thank you. I'm being big.
sales
Yeah.
for sure.
Sales,
Connections, I
missed
think.
opportunities, sales, opportunity. What else? Yeah, keep saying them.
Yeah, the connections, the genuine connections at that. And
Your headache has come back. Headache. You're
huh?
rubbing your forehead.
Oh yeah, my headaches come back.
Your headaches come back.
I'm thinking too hard.
You're thinking too hard, stressed out.
Yeah.
Listen, it's written all over your being. I can see it right now because I've been dealing with this for the last 30 years with thousands of people. You think I can't figure this out?
And just like helping, I mean, doing what I want to do, like my passion, because
It's
I the
costing you
passion's
your passion,
there.
your help, everything. Listen, when you underline it all, it costs you everything.
Yeah.
And then why the heck would you want to keep doing it? There's got to be some payoffs.
Mhm.
Otherwise, it's stupid. You're not a stupid person. There's a reason why you
Definitely.
want to hold on to this XY. There's a reason you want to keep having that imposter syndrome. Ooh, it's very useful. You never thought of it as useful, but boy, is it useful. Because you get to avoid a bunch of things.
I think that's what it is.
What are the payoffs of avoid? What are you avoiding that's a payoff?
I have no idea. I have to think
Yeah,
about
yeah.
that.
A lot of people are already kind of figuring this out, by the way, when they're listening to you. But again, you could be avoiding playing the bigger game. Because a bigger game will necessitate you confronting this imposter thing and getting it clear.
Mm.
See, if you played at the level of Dr. Martin Luther King or Mahatma Gandhi or John F. Kennedy or any of those guys who play big, you have to confront this imposter thing. You can't have it dragging you around. You're going to resolve that. If you took on being Martin Luther King and you said, I'm going to, or Mahatma Gandhi, I'm going to free India in the next 10 years, believe me, you will resolve the imposter thing in a second. I guarantee you, you will. The payoff is that you can stay small, comfortable.
I think that's what it is, honestly. And I've processed that already, but
No, you haven't.
I've been doing the work to try and undo it. So
You haven't gotten all the costs and payoffs. Believe me, you haven't. Because if you did, we wouldn't be having this conversation. Listen, I know you've done a lot of work. I'm not belittling the work you've done. It probably helps, but it hasn't gone like it's gone maybe about 60%, but not the remaining 40%.
yeah, for sure.
You still have a ways to go to, it's not really going to take you a lot of time. It's going to take you the willingness to do it. I ran marathons before. I ran a marathon before. Believe me, the last 100 feet is hell. Especially when when I was injured and I was dragging my feet literally 1 mile an hour. Last 100 feet was hell. The last 100 feet for you, hell, is going to look like hell, but once you're done, you're going to be done with it. You're going to be done with this marathon for life. So you got to ask yourself, are you willing to go through what it takes to get past this discomfort? You got to start telling some truth around why you're holding this imposter syndrome close to your heart. See, people who have dealt with the imposter syndrome never talk about it. See, I've gone through a lot of trauma. I never talk about it. Trauma that has shocks people when they know what I've gone through. But I don't have to talk about it because it's done. You got to get this done. Some more work for you to do. That work is looking at the costs and the payoffs a lot more closer. You got to get it in your soul. You got to get why it's so costly for you. And then your mind will clear up because your mind or your decision-making faculty will go, you know what? Enough of this. You have a certain amount of silence. In that silence, you can create a new future statement. This is how I lead people through this hell. Create a new future statement. You can do this in 3 steps. First step, and this is for all of you to listen to if you choose to. You can start doing this now, but you'll probably have to do the costs and payoffs a lot. All of you will probably have to do this, okay? But you can create a new future statement. How you do this is you pick 30 words or phrases that call to you, inspire you. Write it down. Don't do this in your head. And then you pick the best 5, the most inspiring 5 words and phrases. And then you create a future statement that's 1 sentence long. You memorize it. You say it every morning. And every morning you look at the rest of your day and say, how can I implement this future statement? But here's the trick, okay? You can start doing that. It'll help to a certain extent, but it won't get you to a breakthrough until you work through your X, Y, and your costs and payoffs. I can guarantee you that.
Okay.
But you wanted an answer, so I gave you one.
So I
Because-
continue working.
Say again?
I will continue working.
Well, I advise you to do the session with me. But you're going to do whatever you do, but that's what I advise you to do. Because there's some more work to do in that. Yeah? Yeah.
Will do. Thank you.
All right. Who else would like to share or work through their XYs? Ron Stewart, Bernadette, Vijay, Ron Stewart. Hey, how you doing, man?
I'm doing good. How are you doing?
Very good. Thank you.
I enjoyed everybody's share and I enjoyed the information. This is my first time here. Just to be really honest with you, I'm not much of a salesperson, but I did pick this class today because I have no luck finding a job in the past year.
Okay.
And I don't want to make it drawn out, but I feel like I get rejected all the time. The last roles that I had were at major banks, JP Morgan, Goldman Sachs, through Deloitte. And I just kind of feel like when I get on interviews, people can like sniff out really quick that I'm not really authentic. And my costs and payoffs for continuing to apply for these positions and sell myself, it's deep.
Hmm.
Because I really feel like I wasn't supposed to be in those places in the first place.
Ah. What, can you hear your languaging?
Yeah.
I wasn't supposed to be in those
No, I really
places.
wasn't. I
Yeah.
wasn't. I moved here 6 years ago from New York to
Ah,
come to do film at Fordham, and
ah,
I was working as a barista, and I was joking around with one of my managers saying I was going to leave to become an accountant, and they joked at me and said I wasn't going to do it, and I did it, and Deloitte picked me up,
ah.
and then I end up working at Barclays, having this experience. But now that I have to pay rent, my dad is a little sick. All these things are going on, and some of the things you talked about, I won't really go into details about trying to stay low or play small or trying to go to extremes to get a certain attention has kind of been I've seen just a bad spiral of cycles of trying to fix things in a sense. And I don't really know what to do because although I've had success and been in these places, I haven't had consistency of really understanding what's going on.
Yeah.
Um,
Well, hmm, what do you think you're avoiding? And what do you think your honorable
I'm
intention is?
avoiding,
Yeah.
well, because those roles paid so well, I'm avoiding that I really don't know what the hell is going on in the finance world. That's one thing. And because it takes a long time to understand the complexities of the
Wait,
economy.
wait.
Oh,
Can I just step back a bit? Because you
yeah.
said something really interesting. So you're doing these jobs because they pay well.
Yeah, well, I also, to be really honest, I've always wanted to have that job to fit in a certain space.
Ah, okay. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So you wanted to have a certain amount of status or something like
Well,
to
I just thought
show.
that it'd be, some of my mentors that I looked up to, they're all like executives.
Ah,
And I thought that they would respect me more if I did, kind of went outside the box of what would be the normal, just working to sustain myself.
yeah. So you're avoiding playing a big game with an honorable intention to remain respected.
I don't really care if the jobs don't like me or not. Or, no, at
Well,
this point,
but you just said it. I mean, not necessarily respected by the job, but respected by your peers.
oh, yeah. Well, my mentors, because I looked up,
Your mentors, sorry, your
right.
mentors. Yeah.
And it does mean hold a lot of weight because those mentors like directly like my uncles and
Right.
cousins, older cousins. So it means a lot to me because we're all from the same stock, but I'm
Hey,
not strategic.
totally get it. I totally
Yeah.
get it.
Um,
My culture is the same, right? You
mhm.
really revere your elders, etc., right?
Absolutely.
So I can get it, so but you're avoiding playing the big game in an honorable intention to respect your elders.
Well, it's
Yeah,
twofold because it's honored to respect my elders, but the other side, I avoid playing the big game because
yeah,
I didn't get to Deloitte or Goldman Sachs in a traditional route. Like interns or studying in college. I dropped out of school several times, and like I said, I didn't study finance. Most of the people I've met who were younger than me,
uh,
who've come into these big banks, they studied, had internships,
right.
and had connections. I didn't have any of that.
Hmm. And how does that make you feel that you don't have any of that?
One side of it makes me feel like nobody can fuck with me, but the other side of it is
Yeah,
there's things that I constantly avoid because it's painful to um, uh, old habits or patterns that I don't do as far as following up or reading, or I can't study for 8 hours, or
right,
sometimes I don't understand these interest rate derivative concepts. So I
yeah,
avoid all that stuff in
right,
general. I don't think that's the only way I can make a living, but at the same time, I know that I
yeah.
was very fortunate to get into the space to sustain myself. So why not take a chance on myself?
Yeah, very good. So you can see the what I call the box that you're in. See, you
Right.
either are like avoiding the studying stuff, etc. It's kind of a strategy, and the other
Mhm.
extreme strategy is like, nobody's gonna fuck with me.
Mhm.
See what I'm saying?
But usually in that first, in the former, when I say no one's going to mess with me, or in a sense, I
Yeah.
usually try to keep that by going to extremes, not on the job, but just in general. I might go to the extremes, and that's a whole different conversation, but like over
Yeah.
drinking and stuff like that. So, and that's a bad cycle in
I
itself.
totally get it. Yeah,
Yeah.
I used to be there too myself, so don't feel bad about it. I understand it, and you're beginning to disassemble it. You see, and you kind of got your foot nailed to the floor
Mhm.
with a winning strategy that's kind of working for you, but not quite satisfying. Because I don't get satisfying in your being. I get like you got kind of don't fuck with me and excuse my French, but I'm just
Right.
saying what's
Yeah.
there, right? And then on the other side, avoiding the studying, etc. You see,
Right.
and
Well, it's
yeah,
like sometimes when I have interviews, I had
uh,
an interview earlier this week with a private hedge fund, and
yeah,
I can just tell the interviewer was not into me at all. Like she wasn't making eye contact. She was just kind of making having kind of microaggressions. Like I can tell you're from Texas, and I didn't know if that was like maybe I'm a black guy from Oak Cliff. I didn't know what she meant by that. She's kind of
uh-huh,
a fast talker New Yorker, so I don't really kind of get the satisfaction from being in those kind of environments with those kind of personalities. But I do take satisfaction saying I got here without kissing ass or being the typical. I went to Georgetown or I went to NYU or
yeah,
Columbia, or I kind of got here and I was able to hold my position just
uh-huh.
based off my character.
So okay, so one of the outcomes of this is that your interviews are not going well. You're not yielding anything for you.
No, I get to maybe first or second rounds. In some interviews, I can just kind of tell off the gate that they're just not really interested. And I'm not really what kind of brought me to this is I'm trying to sell myself better with confidence because I'm also trying to play, please, hire me. Like I have this good track record, but
Right.
I'm not really coming in and speaking because I really don't understand the concepts of what I'm actually selling. And I think the cost of that is what is it to take to really show up authentic, and maybe people, especially in those spaces, finance world in New York, they can
Mhm.
sniff out
Oh, they can. Yeah,
when
they're pretty
people are not
savvy.
a real deal, when you're not the
Yeah.
real, I'm
Well,
not Jamie Dimon.
yeah, because they've dealt with their own lying, you see.
Right,
The old saying, don't bullshit a bullshitter. It's quite true because bullshitters know a lie when they
right,
see it, even if it's hidden, even
right,
if it's a really nice person. Nice persons are sometimes, no, the worst liars,
right,
you know? What the 13th century meaning of the original meaning of nice from French, it meant to be foolish. See, the opposite, a lot of nice people tend to be really angry,
yeah,
you know. Um, and you see, so it's a similar, not quite the same, but there's a similar kind of people. People are sniffing that out in your being
hmm,
because you haven't quite uncollapsed this XY. Most people can kind of sense it, even if they're not savvy, they can sense something's off.
right,
You will do it with other people who come to you who are exactly like you. You will see it as
right,
yourself, you see.
right,
And so that's a cost for you.
right,
Now there's a payoff in the sense that you're playing in the game that you feel like you can play,
right.
but that's a box.
Well,
You
I don't
see?
have enough track record to show
Yeah,
consistency that
see, that's the other part of it. I hear you saying that a lot, like and that's part of your box too. Like you don't have the track record. You keep
right,
saying that.
right,
I'm not saying you have to break out at the track record or it's not true that your track record is relevant. I'm not saying any of that. I'm just
mhm,
saying that I'm just trying to open your mind up because
right,
when your mind is open to the possibility, then the truth kind of shows up.
right,
But you see, without your mind being open, you're going to come to very quick, rather overly quick conclusions about yourself.
right,
And that's where the nail is solidly putting your foot to the floor.
mhm,
See, but you gotta like really look at this XY
mhm,
and look at the costs and the payoffs. Then your mind will go, enough of this bullshit. Or you know what? I think I'm okay continuing with this. But at least stop lying to yourself.
mhm. So do more of find out the X and Y, accept it, and go from there.
Do a session with me and we can uncover it even deeper.
All right.
Or work with me as a coach. We'll get it resolved in about 3 months if we do the work.
Okay. Yeah, I love to talk to you about it because it's been 1 year and it's just, savings running low. I mean, I'm still interviewing now. Like I have a new interview coming up with Blackstone, but
Yeah.
I'm just all over the place right now. So I would love to, I do have your link for on Calendly, and I'd love to set an appointment.
You're going to do whatever you do, but my invitation, my strong invitation, almost demand is to set up that time. The link is right there.
I have it.
Yeah, go ahead and do that. Yeah,
Okay.
I invite you to do that. It's an invitation. It's up to you whether you take it up or not, but I promise you outstanding results if you do it.
Okay.
I don't make false promises as long as you're coachable. Okay.
Okay.
All right.
you.
Anybody else like to share? Vijay Kumar. Oh, that's it. Okay. Vijay Kumar. Any thanks. That's all. Thanks. Hey, thanks. All right. I invite you all to do the session with if you wish to do that. Here's the link again. Thank you for the opportunity to make a difference with you all. Hope you all have a great day. Take care. We'll talk again soon. Take care, everybody. All
Take
right.
care,
Bye-bye.
Sunil. Thank you.
Make sure you capture the link before I leave because it'll be
I have it
gone.
right here. I have it put up.
Okay. All right. Awesome. Talk to you all later. Take care,
All right.
everybody.
Take
Bye-bye.
care.